Hey guys, what's up? It's Samantha, and today I am back with another timely plan with me, which just continues to bring me so much joy. But this week I am going to be memory keeping and talking about what I read during the week of January 17th through the 23rd, which at the time of recording this was last week. I mean, I still just can't get over that I'm doing plan with me's on time. It's delightful after so long. So this week I am using a Scribble Prints Co. kit, Belle, and this is like a Beauty and the Beast inspired kit, but very much French, like laying into the French aesthetic of Beauty and the Beast and not the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast. So I love this. I love the library scene on those double boxes that I just put down. Just the whole thing is delightful. I wanted to go with something that was a little romantic for this week because it was Joe and it was our 7th wedding anniversary. So I wanted to pick something kind of lovey-dovey without going into like a Valentine's Day kit, just because I have lots of Valentine's Day kits coming up for January. February. So I thought this kind of just felt romantic without being a Valentine's Day kit. And Monday, the 17th, was our wedding anniversary, and we had a lovely date night in. Joe went and got a bottle of Veuve, and we had champagne. And then we had, to pair with our champagne, we got Olive Garden, which is like obviously not like fancy food, but when we first started dating, we used to go to Olive Garden a lot, and both of us were just feeling very nostalgic for that experience. Like those were some of our favorite date nights when we were both broke, like doing the soup salad and breadstick thing. So we got Olive Garden, and that was really lovely. Other than that, this week was pretty busy in terms of I was doing a lot of life stuff and work stuff in terms of editing videos and voiceovers and all of that. Tuesday and Wednesday were both very full work days since I'm not working like my normal job anymore, and I want to get back to YouTube. Obviously, like I'm not doing this to make money, but I'm treating it more like trying to get stuff done and trying to be a little more professional about doing stuff. So I'm like referring to that as like work, but I spent basically all day Tuesday and all day Wednesday working on YouTube stuff, which was very satisfying. I feel very rusty at a lot of this stuff, but I'll get there. And had some like insurance stuff. Our insurance stuff changed over, and we need to like transfer stuff from like our old HSA to our new HSA. And we didn't know how to do that, and so I had to make a bunch of phone calls, and they like shut me off from being able to access my account online. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get information about my account? If you want, let me see my account. Like my money is still with you guys. Give me my money. So yeah. And then this weekend we did go see my sister-in-law's family up near Cleveland. It was really nice. We hadn't seen them in a little over a year, just with like the pandemic stuff. Like we just hadn't really seen family, and whenever we had been with his family, they were with her in-laws family like for holidays where we have seen my husband's family. So we've just kept missing each other like at family events. So, or vice versa, if she was with my husband's parents, we were with my parents. So we got to hang out with my niece and nephew. It was the first time I actually got to meet my niece since she was born a few months ago, so that was really nice. And my nephew, who's like also my godson, he is adorable and hilarious and just like very cute, and I haven't seen him in so long, so it was really nice to like hang out with him. And he is really into like Duplo Legos. I got him a bunch for Christmas, and he is also really into recycling things, and he, recycled his Duplo while I was there, and he thought, like, he wasn't even upset about it. Like, he thought it was the funniest joke he could tell. Like, this is peak 2-year-old humor, is like putting Duplo in the recycling bin, and he was just cracking up, and then it cracked me up, and you had to be there, but I definitely mark that in my planner. So if you're like wondering what I was cracking up about on Saturday, it was that my nephew was like on the floor in like hysterics laughing over putting a few pieces of his Duplo in the recycling bin, and it was a contagious kind of laughter, you know. So that's basically, I feel like I actually did stuff this week. I feel like I normally don't have more than a couple minutes of stuff to like talk about during my weeks. I feel like they've been so boring for the last couple years. I did like my 2 things I marked. I usually mark 2 things on the side of the spread. I also marked sobbing hysterically from watching Encanto again. I don't normally watch movies. I watched it for the 3rd time this week, and Joe watched it with me, so it was my 3rd time and his 2nd time, and both of us still sobbing hysterically at the end. Like both of us were just in tears. It's such an emotional movie. I love it so much. But yeah, so this week I only read or like only finished 2 books. I read other books, but as we know, I seem to be in a weird reading place where I'm jumping back and forth between 6 books because I'm suddenly a mood reader, and my mood is changing every 15 minutes. So the 2 books I finished this week were The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I'm like so excited. I got an ARC, and I read it the day I got the ARC, so I like read it the first day it was available. Love on the Brain by Hazelwood. I like flipped out when I saw I got the ARC, and I immediately downloaded it to my Kindle and read it in one sitting. So good. So I'm going to talk about Love on the Brain first because I loved it. Full 5 stars. I had such a good time with this book. So I talked about The Love Hypothesis, also by Hazelwood, a couple Plan With Me's ago, and I liked it but didn't love it. I liked the male lead way more than the female lead. I felt like she was kind of bland and didn't have a whole lot of personality, and like the beginning was really rushed, and it just felt very fanficky. And this, I feel like, fixed all of my issues that made like The Love Hypothesis good but not great for me. And this was just chef's kiss great. I don't want to spoil anything because the book doesn't come out for like another 7 or 8 months. But basically, we are following a neuroscientist and an engineer who are collaborating on a project for NASA. And they were very briefly at the same grad school, like they overlapped for 1 year. And the female main character is convinced that the dude hates her guts based on how standoffish he was to her, and like everyone else in their program was always teasing her, like, what did you do to make him hate you so much? And so she thinks this guy's just like a huge, condescending, arrogant, aloof jerk. And like, obviously it's a romance. We know that's gonna switch up. But it's just like delightful, and the romance definitely felt more natural in this one, and there's more space for it to unravel. Like the other one, it felt very much like they got together and then like all the stuff at the end happened and they were just like together. This gives like more, you get to see them more as like a couple, like for a longer chunk of the book, which I feel like is more effective for most romances. So I loved it. I could not put it down. It was great. It was so good. It was so good. And like there's some You've Got Mail elements, like they both run science Twitters that are like have a lot of followers, and they DM each other, but they don't know it's each other. And it's like You Got Mail. It has all my favorite tropes. I love it so much. Yeah. And then the other book I read, which was unfortunately a disappointment, was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And this is one of the Backlist series. I mentioned that, I think, at the beginning of the year, that one of my goals was to read some of these Backlist fantasy series that I've been meaning to get to for years and years and years, and I've never had room in my reading schedule because I always had to read so many YA books every month for book talks. So this is one of them that's been on the list for years. Like, I have an actual Google Note list of backlist authors and series I want to get to. And I was intrigued. Like, I'm going to continue with the series because I feel like there was enough in the world that I was really intrigued about. This is I realized I didn't even say what this book's about. This is a paranormal, futuristic fantasy series that takes place in London about like 50 years in the future. People who have psychic abilities, basically clairvoyancy. If you're a clairvoyant, you are deemed a risk to society, and people who have clairvoyant powers are basically kidnapped by the government, killed. Nobody really knows what happens to them. People who have clairvoyant powers who haven't been caught by the government live in secret. There's underground gangs. So if you like sort of like a gang element in your book, that is here, but you don't really get a lot of it in the first book because, and this is like on the inside flap of the book or like on the back cover, our main character Paige is kidnapped. Like, she's discovered by the government very, very early on, like within the first couple chapters of the book. And she is sent to basically a like ghetto for clairvoyants that are run by people who have ulterior motives. I don't want to like get spoilery, but there's definitely some very clear parallels being made to the Holocaust. And so it's very intense at times, and it was not what I was expecting. That doesn't make it bad, but like the torture, there's a lot of torture, and that is one of the few things in books. Like, I can do violence, like that doesn't bother me, bloodshed, war. I don't like specifically torturing an individual and having that torture like communicated explicitly on page. Not my favorite thing in the world to read. And at the beginning, it was very like stomach turning. And then by the end, I was almost just bored of it. Like, it was so melodramatic. Like, every other page, it felt like every other page, someone was getting tortured. And it didn't seem like it had a point, which like, that is kind of the point. They're just torturing them for the fun of it. But like, it just didn't feel like there was enough plot for how long this book was. And it wasn't even that long, but it just took me forever to get through. But like I said, there were some really interesting world building elements and stuff that I feel like had a lot of potential. And the end was interesting. There is kind of like a weird romance situation going on between Paige and one of her captors that like made me feel a little uncozy. I'm like not sure where that's going, but like, I don't know. So I picked up the second book, and so far I'm only like 5% into the second book, but I am liking it more than the first book, and I'd be okay with continuing the series if there's like a growth and development from that, like the first book, which I think there will be, because we're in a different setting than the first book, if that makes sense. I don't know. I gave it 2 stars, like 2.5. It was okay. I don't know that I liked it, but I also didn't dislike it. It was just sort of like, I'm interested to see where this goes. Like, I'll give you another book to convince me to keep reading this, but otherwise, like, I'm out of here. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, that was everything I did, everything I read this past week. I love how the spread turned out. Like, the matte bronze foil, just perfection with this kit. Love it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye, guys.